Hi everybody, my name is Christina and I'm also joined today by Ashwin. We're going to talk to you a little bit about delivering virtual events with Microsoft Teams. So before we get started, today we're going to talk about new capabilities coming to Teams that will help you structure and customize your virtual events. We're also going to touch on some of the new security and monitoring features that are coming. And we're going to spend some time talking about some of the various scenarios from webinars to broadcasting to conferences and how some of our customers have been leveraging Teams to deliver these events. So first, I want to start off by talking a little bit about the spectrum of communication. And in the spectrum, we look from left to right at the types of meetings we have in our organizations. Some are small and we use them mainly for daily productivity. Some are a little bit larger and are group meetings that we use for really brainstorming and have a lot of interactive experiences. And then all the way on the right side of the spectrum, we think about virtual events. And these tend to be things like webinars, town halls, broadcasts, and that's really where we're going to focus the bulk of our conversation today. And so that said, I want to talk a little bit about some of the differences between these daily or group meetings and virtual events. So it's primarily really around the role and the actions that people can take within these meetings. So in the smaller meetings, it's usually few to few engagements and everyone has pretty equal levels of participation. Whereas with virtual events, it tends to be few to many. And a lot of times the attendees have more limited interactions than the presenters or the producers. For example, attendees can leverage online chat, they can watch the presentation, but they can't take over and share their screen, or they can't unmute their microphones and take over leading the presentations. So with that, as I mentioned, we're going to focus primarily on webinar, town hall experiences, and we'll talk a little bit more about exactly what those mean as we go through. I also really want to talk a little bit about this idea of everything moving online. So at Microsoft, we've been tasked with moving all of our in-person events online, as you're watching right now. And so some of the feedback that we've heard is that there's new skill sets that need to be learned. And not just around new tools, but really just the, how you function as being able to move everything online and all of the things that are associated with that. So there's these learning curves associated with that and the new skill sets you have to procure. In addition to that, from IT and admins at customers, we're hearing, there's all of these new experiences that they have to enable for their end users. And so there's a lot of level of complexity and nuances associated with that too. So at Microsoft, we've been talking a lot about how do we take our primary collaboration and communication tool, Teams, and how do we make it how do we make it easier for customers to use this to address all of their concerns that they're having. And one of the things that we're doing is we are bringing Microsoft 365 live events together with Microsoft Teams. And through this, we are going to enable a lot of simplification for event setup and also deployment for the IT side of the house. We're also going to be able to provide more customization options and the ability to scale. And lastly, we're going to be able to add more structure. So as you know, as you add more attendees, you often need more structure. So what does all of this actually mean from a capabilities standpoint? It means that meetings are going to be able to grow to scale to 20,000 attendees. They're also going to be very simple to set up and deliver. And from an attended standpoint, it's just clicking a link and being able to join. We're also going to be adding more structured participation. So things like registration forms, the ability to disable a chat for a large event, also the ability to have all of your attendees join on mute and have them stay on mute. We're also going to be providing more options for customization in meetings. And this means that as a presenter, you can determine the layout of your video feed, of your content that you want your attendees to see in a very specific way to curate their experience. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ashwin, and he's going to talk through all of the details of the new things that we have coming to Teams meetings.
Thanks, Christina. We're really excited for the shift and the possibilities this will open up for new scenarios and new ways you can use our product for your needs. You might be thinking, how in the world am I supposed to have my large events and a product I use for my collaborative meetings? Don't fret. In the next few sections, I want to provide you with more info on how we will do this. First, we'll provide you with an expansive tool set to control your events. Second, we'll provide you with tools to connect and deeply engage with your audience. And third, we'll provide you with tools to ensure security. With tools to control your meeting, scale is not only the important aspect, but being able to invite and organize that large amount of participants is going to be key. Registration and email automation will allow you to target that wide funnel. Customizing your branding will make it even better to reach out the way you exactly want. Next is structure. And it all starts with assigning roles, which you can do right during scheduling. Once roles are set, you'll have the flexibility of setting the limitations you want that cater exactly to the style of meeting you want to achieve. Whether it is a one-to-many or a collaborative town hall. View controls allow you to show the best you to your audience. Spotlight will allow you for the first time to dictate what others see by selecting one video that is shown to users, similar to sharing today, but with video. In addition, we have some amazing layouts in works for presenters to dictate exactly how they look in context to their content. Honestly, all these layouts and spotlight features will really upgrade Teams meetings for a slew of whole new scenarios, which I'm personally excited about. And finally, after the meeting, through a rich report, you'll be able to understand and analyze what happened within that meeting. In addition, if you had registration, you'll be able to see the registration questions and data that your audience provided while they registered. All in line, all right there with the attendance data. After you get to the familiar Teams meeting scheduling form, you can select you want registration. Once you enter basic data about your webinar, you can go into the Registration tab. There, you can customize the registration page to your liking, like adding information about speakers, as well as adding any custom question for people signing up to answer. After the webinar, you'll be able to see who attended the event through an inline attendance report. In addition to join leave time, you'll be able to see registration information of those who attended right in line. The second big pillar of focus for us are features and tools to connect you better with your audience. This area is a personal favorite of mine. There are a lot of really cool things that are coming out of it that will allow you to really upgrade your meeting. Throughout the next year, we'll be releasing a whole slew of engagement tools. Raise hand, which is already released, is a first signal. But soon, you'll be able to use that signal to provide the mic to users who raise their hands and want to talk. In addition to raise hands, there are other reactions we'll be providing to show sentiment. Also, you'll be able to leverage polling and surveying capabilities from Microsoft Forms to understand your audience real time within the meeting. And finally, we will scale out even faster with the introduction of Teams Meeting Extensibility Platform that will allow third-party as well as first-party developers to build even more capabilities for your audience. One key first-party partnership that I want to really call out among the others that we're doing is we're working on a integration with Yammer to bring their tool set to Teams meetings to provide even more ways to interact with audience, including moderated Q&A capabilities. We're really excited about this partnership and all the things that we can do with marrying the two products. As we shift towards a more online default work environment, as you can see here, one key area we're focusing on even more is security and monitoring. Providing you with even more knobs to ensure the right people enter your meeting and events is going to be so key. It's important to ensure, first, the defaults are set correctly so that the baseline is safe and secure. We've recently changed the lobby default to people in your organization to ensure only those within your company can join. In addition, we've released a lobby option to allow only the organizer into meetings first so they can get ready before everyone gets admitted, each person, or they can admit them all. It allows for unattended meetings. It doesn't allow for unattended meetings without the organizer present. We're also providing in-meeting tools to ensure total control over who can speak as well as chat. In addition to gates, we're providing ways to monitor within the meeting as well. Two things we're doing, we're providing you with admin dashboards as well as in-meeting tools. We'll provide even more views within the admin dashboard and stats that give you a holistic view of your whole organization. With that, I'll hand it over to Christina to talk more about our new premium offering.
Thanks, Ashwin, for sharing all those amazing new capabilities. I want to take a moment to talk about a new plan that's coming to Microsoft 365 called Advanced Communications. Advanced Communications is an add-on to your existing plan, and it gives you access to a lot of the great features that Ashwin just shared with you. And these features are really meant to help you structure and control your team's meetings as they grow in size and complexity. And I'd also like to share that beginning now, you can receive a 35% discount on any of these add-ons that you buy by January 31st. So I encourage you to reach out to your Microsoft representative to learn more, or if you're the IT admin for your tenant, you can go to the admin center and get started right away. So we talked a little bit about some of these capabilities that are going to be really impactful for your scenarios like webinar. Let's change gears a little bit and talk about some of the new advanced broadcasting capabilities that are coming to Teams. So you may not think about Teams as a broadcasting tool, but with new integrations, including NDI for Teams and interoperability with Skype TX, you can now use Teams as part of your production workflow. So for those of you not familiar with NDI and Skype TX, you're able to take your Teams meeting feeds, separate them out, and take each of those individual feeds to rearrange custom layouts, manage those videos, manage the audio independently, even though everybody is also joined into the meeting. So let's go ahead and take a deeper look at a use case where one of our customers was using NDI recently. So the NFL, as most of you may know, have moved a lot of their operations online. This includes their recent virtual draft. And so after the draft, the NFL wanted a way to continue engagement with some of their strategic partners. And so working with NFL, they identified that NDI with Microsoft Teams would be a great way to broadcast an event they called the Chalk Talk. And so the Chalk Talk was bringing a few of the NFL players together onto a Teams meeting to chat with each other about the recent picks, and so some of the partners that were joining as attendees could listen to their feedback on those picks. And so let's take a look at how the setup was done for this specific event. So first, the organizer set up a Teams meeting. And the Teams meeting is used for having all of your attendees, in this case the players, to join. And the meeting acts as a secure virtual stage that you're going to broadcast out to the attendees. And so after everyone joins the Teams meetings, you're able to open up your encoder. And in the encoder, you can use NDI to separate out all of your video feeds. So these video feeds of the NFL players were broken out and they were arranged on the screen in a very custom way. And then branding, lower thirds, additional customizations were made. And then this feed was streamed out to a different endpoint where the attendees would be able to watch and ask questions. In this case, we streamed it out to a Teams live event because the NFL could appreciate that when everybody, all of the attendees joined, they were on mute, but they were still able to interact and ask questions through a moderated online Q&A. And so with that, I want to move on to another type of virtual event scenario that everybody is probably getting very familiar with. And this is the online conference world. So everybody has been moving their in-person conferences online, and some of the capabilities we just talked about, like with broadcasting, have been very prevalent in helping to stream keynotes and live engagements. So let's start with another case study so I can give you an idea of how a lot of this is coming together and Teams' involvement in moving conferences online. The Chattanooga Film Festival is an annual event where film enthusiasts gather together and they watch new movies, interact with each other, listen to panels, talk to directors, and see new kinds of films. And this year, it was at risk of not happening due to COVID's impact on social gatherings. So the Chattanooga Film Festival contacted Microsoft and some of our partners, and together we were able to create an online virtual festival so the conference could still enable peer-to-peer networking, they could still deliver live panels, breakout sessions, and they could deliver this engagement at a level that their attendees were used to from their in-person events. So to double click on that a little bit, let's talk about how Teams played the role in that event and other conferences. Before the conference, you're able to use Teams to help to automate some of your workflows, as well as what we use Teams for every day, collaborating on documents, working on the whiteboard together, iterating on ideas. Then during the conference, you're able to use Teams for things like we just saw in the last example, live streaming, panels, and keynotes. You're also able to have smaller breakout meetings in Teams channels or take advantage of the new breakout room capabilities that are coming to Teams. Lastly, after the event ends, you want to continue ongoing engagement. And to do that, you can look at some of the new reporting capabilities we have within Teams. So you can understand how attendees engaged with the event during the event. And then after the event, follow up with recorded content and some of the peer-to-peer networking that you've started to enable through these Teams channels. So I also want to touch on something that has come up a lot recently in Microsoft as we're starting to think about bringing all of our big conferences online. And that's really about your ecosystem of all of the different services and tools that need to come together for an end-to-end conference management. So you can think of Teams as this hub for the collaboration, for delivering some of these experiences, but you also need to think outside of that and some of the extensibility and integrations that you can leverage. And that's really around things like your digital design. So for your custom website, where that may be the first touch point for your event. Also things like marketing automation and CRM, because these attendees will want to continue to engage with your organization, and you'll want to keep that engagement going as well. You also want to think about things like professional services or event management. So someone to kind of help with that end-to-end delivery and bringing all of these experiences together. So that said, I do want to leave you with something that has been incredibly helpful as Microsoft starts to move conferences online. And that's before we even start planning the event, we start to think about the attendee journey. And by mapping the attendee journey, you're able to not just ensure that the attendee's having a great experience and you can see all the touch points of engagement, but it also helps you to think through the technology, the tooling, all of the different services that you need to enable a end-to-end event. And so I'll start here on the left-hand side where we think about the pre-planning. And here it's really thinking about the target audience you're looking for, how you're going to reach them, and how you're going to get them excited about your event. And so things like websites, social channels all become really important. Starting to get some of your community engagement going if there's already platforms that you're used to communicating on. And so then before the event, you also want to think about once they're interested, how do you get them to register and stay excited? And with some of the new capabilities that Ashwin shared today, you can use Teams for a lot of that experience. Now going into the event, every conference is different, but as you think through the different formats of content and the different experiences you want your attendees to have, consider some of the things we talked about with Teams channels, breakout rooms, streaming your keynote, and using some of the new monitoring and telemetry that's coming very soon for presenters and admins to make sure that the experience you're broadcasting out is optimized for attendees. And then lastly, after the event, think about things like ongoing engagement and using reporting that's coming to Teams to help with measuring who was engaged and who wasn't, but also looking at things like how do you keep this engagement going with sharing recordings after the event, nurture streams that really keep your attendees on top of everything that you're doing and things that are important to them as well. So we covered a lot today. And I'd like to just take a minute to share a recap slide of all of the new goodness that is coming to Microsoft Teams meetings this year. I won't go through all of these items, but as you can see, we're investing a lot in scale and structure, and as well as the ability to customize your events. And of course, investing in things like reporting and monitoring. So as an event producer or an event manager or the admin, you can make sure that these events are all being delivered successfully. I'd like to say thank you, and Ashwin and I appreciate you taking time and spending it with us today.